Hello.
Hi, hello.
We are live. So, hello, welcome to the HSE Half Hour. My name is Lauren. I'm Head of Networks and Communications here at Executive Network Group. Myself, my colleague Laura, who will introduce herself shortly, but I'm sure there's no need for introductions at this point. Well, we're going to be bringing you this half-hour show every month on all things recruitment and safety. So, over to you, Laura.
Hello. Yeah, no introductions necessary apparently. So yeah, I'm Laura Aucott. I am Associate Director for HSE Recruitment and Executive Network Group. What that means is, I've been doing health and safety recruitment for the last 13 years. It's my work anniversary next week, Lauren.
Is it? Okay.
13 years. So yeah, the day job is health and safety recruitment, but being an associate director, I get to get involved in all this really, really fun stuff. Like the reports and the white papers that Lauren's team do, events, live shows, all the stuff that hopefully helps kind of give back to the industry.
Fab. So, as head of networks at E&G, I work closely with Laura and the HSE team. Myself and the team create research. Well, we create white papers on safety industry trends and information. And of course, we wanted to share that with you with our wider LinkedIn network. So this is an interactive live session. Please do, pile in with your comments, anything you want to know. Please do ask a question. I will aim to direct them at Laura's as we kind of chat on, and we can go from there. So this is our 10th episode. I can't believe that I'm saying that already. That has absolutely flown. And today we're looking at talent attraction. So this is a massive subject at the moment. Of course, it's always going to be a big subject in recruitment, but it has been 3 years since the dreaded kind of COVID-19 pandemic that shook, the world. But many businesses, they've had a lasting impact from this. Alongside Brexit, the current cost of living crisis that we find ourselves in, these factors have created a huge candidate attraction challenge for so many organisations across most sectors, really.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really interesting time in recruitment in general, but particularly in the safety industry at the moment. It's crazy busy, which is good news. Lots out there. There's loads of opportunities, but it's massively competitive as well. And that's competitive from a client perspective. I think everyone is kind of fighting over the same excellent people in the marketplace. And like you said, that's to do with a couple of factors. COVID was a huge one. Can't believe that was 3 years ago.
I know. When I said that, then I was like, 3 years, what?
Actually terrifying. But that was huge for the safety industry. We've mentioned it before. The pandemic was safety related. So, it had this big impact on a lot of clients where they suddenly, finally really understood the importance of safety and how it kind of helped them keep going, how it was going to keep their businesses afloat. And what that meant is that, companies want to increase their teams, so they're looking for more people. So that's had a really big impact on hiring numbers. But then the problem we've got is, like you said, we've got the cost of living crisis. That's affecting everybody. I don't think there's anybody that isn't feeling that at the moment. You just go down the local supermarket and look at the prices of your day-to-day. The stuff has kind of gone mad. So that is having a real big impact on the candidate side of it. I think you've got a little bit of better the devil in the candidates, again, in all industries, but definitely in safety, are thinking, well, I'm getting paid a decent wage here. I don't really want to take the chance of going somewhere else, even if it is for a little bit more money, because, I don't know if I'm going to like it as much, if I might, be last one in, first one out if things go wrong. So people, I think, are just being a little bit more cautious with their job search. So you've got that perfect storm of clients need more people, and candidates are just a little bit reticent about moving. And again, with that cost of living crisis, what that means is when people do want to move, really they want to move for quite a big uplift, right? They need to make it worth their while. So we're seeing less people do the sideways moves, going from manager to manager. What's happening is we're seeing a lot more people where it's advisors going into managers, because they can get those big pay jumps. And even Brexit, you mentioned that's had a huge impact, because in a lot of industries that's impacted the number of workers. Again, there's less people that are able to work, for example, in agriculture, and that has an impact on safety, because you've got these agricultural businesses and other businesses that are struggling to have enough staff, and that's putting a lot of pressure on the staff they do have, which is creating well-being issues and safety issues, for the safety teams, which is making it more challenging. So there's just loads going on. What we said, it's a great time. If you're looking for a role, it's a fantastic time to look. But it's an interesting market, definitely.
Yeah. Definitely. So I suppose, Laura, that brings us really nicely into what we're going to discuss today. And hopefully people can see on the screen, we've got our talent attraction report here. So this is solely for health and safety professionals. Over the last few months, myself and the team have surveyed over 150 individuals, all in safety, various level, kind of from advisor right through to kind of, global director of safety. And these people have all been either within a process, like a recruitment process in the last 12 months. They've been seeking a role. They've been actively involved in the recruitment process in some way. They might have accepted a role. They might not have, been offered and declined.
Yeah.
So the reason that we conducted this report is firstly to advise our clients. We're servicing, Laura and the team are servicing many clients across different industries that are coming up with the same complaints, really, and the same frustrations about the market. So this is to really get a greater understanding of what safety professionals are actually after, not just, remuneration wise, but what is it in the process that they're interested in? What is it about a business that will make them go, you know what, that is worth a move in this difficult time where I can take that risk. So yeah, this is a report that we put together. I will put the link in the comments for the landing page, which will take you to the report that you can download thereafter. But the first thing I'm going to do is share the kind of key findings page. So this is, again, a few key stats that we got from this. Actually, Laura, before we jump into this, we've had a good question from John.
Already?
Got a question. So before we head in to discuss this, I don't want to miss John's question. So he said, do you think businesses are valuing their health and safety teams and managers, so moving is seen as less attractive? So is there more focus on talent retention?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, this kind of ties into that COVID point. It's mad how much of an impact that had. But like we said, it made companies realise just how important safety was. So not only did they want to bolster the teams and hire new people, they wanted to look after the ones they've got. They know now they cannot afford to lose these people. So yeah, we've seen companies really, really look after their staff in a lot of cases. We've seen, like we said, salaries go through the roof. We've had like a 9% increase in salaries in just sort of the last 6 months, which is a direct impact to that. So yeah, absolutely. People are being looked after. So that all ties into it. They're maybe a little bit more happy where they were previously. They're getting paid okay. Like I said, there's reasons to be nervous for moving. So it makes it hard, definitely, to kind of attract people. But yeah, we can go through these key findings. I think this some of the stuff that came out of this report was really, really interesting. So you can see here stuff like 85% of the people that we surveyed have been influenced to take the role because of the team that they met during their interview process. Very much about that feel, that culture, that that's really, really big. 79% said remuneration was the most important thing to them. No big surprise in a cost of living crisis. Yeah, salary is always going to be key. But some of the other stuff I thought was really, really interesting. So like you can see on the right here, 90% of the people surveyed would turn a role down if they thought that the management style was micromanaging, which I thought was really, really interesting. And I know we keep talking about it, but I think that is really related to COVID as well. During that COVID pandemic, we worked in completely different ways. People worked from home. There was people on furloughs. We had reduced teams. We saw the same here at Executive Network Group. We kind of threw everything out the window in terms of our normal 9 to 5 in the office. This is how we work. One-to-ones and managers on your shoulder, all that sort of stuff. And I just threw it out the window and said, do what you need to do. And that's created, great cultures where people feel like they've got some freedom, they feel responsible, they've got accountability, and they don't want that to change. People are enjoying that and it's working for them. So definitely, I think that's had a real big impact on that micromanaging aspect. People don't want to go back to that way of life. And then you can see, so what we did is we pulled out the 3 most popular things that our people we surveyed said made a company appealing to them. And 51% It's close to home. 72% flexible working. Again, those things are so interconnected. Again, I think a really big impact of COVID. It genuinely has changed so much about the working world in all sectors and including safety. But again, people got used to that. They got used to the fact that they were able to work from home, and on your 10-minute break, instead of sitting around the water cooler talking knackers with your co-workers, you can put your washing on, or you can get some of your chores done for the rest of the day, and then you cut your commute time down. And people got used to that, and they don't want to go back to that old way of life. And particularly when we've got a lot of these new people entering the workforce, what generation are we on? Gen Z? Is that right?
Yeah. It's hard to keep.
You've got all these new people coming through, and they've just got completely different attitudes on work.
Yeah, different expectations as well. It's very 100%. Much like work should serve me. I'm not going to, live to work and all this stuff, which, there's been a major balance, and it's all around kind of, I think, more mental health awareness and time kind of expectation. But yeah, we've definitely seen a shift as, different dynamics.
Yeah, absolutely.
Different people come through. Yeah.
And then the other bit that, that came out top, so 74% said about personal development, which again, I think is quite tied into those new generations coming through. They are, like you said, they're thinking about work completely differently. They've got different expectations. It's not, I'm going to work 17 hours a day and break my back. It's, I'm going to come in, I'm going to get the job done well, but what can you guys do for me? They're kind of looking exactly. So definitely that's become much more of a theme, and I think it's a good sign, because it means that people are really thinking about long-term careers here, right? When you're talking about personal development, they're thinking about, this is health and safety is something I want to do for a long time, so how can we work together to get the best out of me, to get the best for the company, and I think that's only a good thing. So yeah, not necessarily a massive surprise, but I think some good stuff coming out as important to people at the minute.
Yeah, definitely. So I know that we just discussed there, flexible working, personal development, salaries, of course, has been a major one. We did, of course, release our remuneration report in January of this year. So if anyone wants that, please do get in touch and we can send that across. But is there any other, are there any other factors that businesses can do to help impact a candidate's kind of brand perception of them? Because you've definitely talked a lot about personal branding from that point of view. Go back to, I think it was our first ever session, wasn't it, Laura, on this?
It was.
You can find plenty of content around that online. But what about an employer brand? What other things can impact that?
Yeah, I completely agree. That brand stuff is so important at the moment. Talent attraction, like we said, people are looking for development. They're looking for companies that care. They're looking for that real culture fit now. This isn't just who's paying the right salary in the right area. Then, candidates are looking for connections, and they're looking for long-term development. So brand fully ties into that. That the company brand, the safety brand, all of that is super, super important. I think when you're putting candidates through a process and they're going to interviews, the company vision, that tells them so much. And I think that, to me, is one of the really key things that clients are kind of got to be aware of at the moment, is having that super, super strong vision, whether that's the company vision or whether that's the safety team's vision, but it's got to be strong and it's got to be really, really visible. So, that tells them exactly what their experience is going to be like. If your vision is really, really clear about how you value staff, or the commitment you make to personal development, or your commitment you make to safety, if that is all over your vision, that tells the candidate everything. And that's really, really going to help you stand out. This is why we talked about personal brand previously, was about personal branding, right? And helping you as a candidate stand out in the market, and what makes you look more attractive than another candidate with a similar background. It's the same basic principle for an employer, right? Having that vision and having it really, really clear and really, really obvious and really accessible, that's what's going to make your brand stand out from maybe the other brands that are interviewing and all kind of going for the same people.
Yes. Definitely. I was speaking with someone the other day, Laura, and they were saying, they went for an interview and they were asking questions to the interviewer around like their sustainability kind of strategy, things like that, if that aligns. And I think, as you mentioned, kind of Jen said earlier, they're much more aligned with the company vision. They're not about
100%.
like, this is the responsibilities and accountabilities of the job. They're like, okay, what's the bigger picture? And that's what I think this comes down to, is a bigger picture of a vision where they can see themselves personally developing within a business.
Yeah, definitely. So one of the things that we've put in this, I say we, that you guys have put in this report as well, what I think is really, really interesting is those tips on creating vision, which again, this could be company, this could be the safety team's vision, whatever, but it is a really, really important thing at the moment. And there's kind of three main areas that are important that we're finding candidates are saying to us, this is what I'm looking for in a vision. And it's about keeping it memorable, so it's simple, they don't need to go and look it up all the time and think, oh, what was that? It's not overly wordy. Yeah, exactly. Like you'll see some visions that have got loads of acronyms in them and people don't know what the acronyms stand for. They need to go and look up like, oh, what did the A stand for again? Anything that's got loads of those moving parts, it means it's not going to resonate. It's not going to stick. It's keep it simple, stupid. That's the main thing. Exactly. So, a candidate, when they research you for an interview, they see the vision, it sticks. That's the key sort of. Well, that's one of the key sort of points. And then the other thing that I think is quite important, and we've told this to quite a lot of our clients, is when you're coming up with that vision and you've got that, that one statement or whatever it is, don't just get feedback from internally from your safety team and people within the company. Take it external, because sometimes it seems obvious to people who work with you. They'll read it and they go, well, of course I understand what that means, because they've heard you talk about it. They've heard you talk about it for years. They understand what you want, so of course they get it. But then you take it external and you say it to someone else, and we've done this ourselves at Executive Network Group through the years when we've looked at our company mission and vision stuff. You take it external and bounce it off some whether it's friends, family, or clients, or whatever it is, and they just turn around like, huh? Like, I have no idea what that means. You think, that's not
that's not going to land.
So that external feedback, I think, is really, really important on the vision stuff. And then the final bit is just marketing it. That comes back down to this brand stuff again, right? Particularly if this is your safety vision. If you are looking to recruit into your team, your safety vision should be everywhere on your social media. Are your staff talking about it on LinkedIn? Is the company LinkedIn page talking about it? Great example of this is you've got Malcolm Staves over at L'Oreal, and you will see, if you go on his LinkedIn profile, every single thing that he posts, he's got "Be the Hummingbird" at the bottom, and it's everywhere. So when he worked for L'Oreal, he's all about that hummingbird method and the little things making a big difference. So just keep it simple, get that external feedback, and market the hell out of it.
Sounds good. So I suppose with everything that we've discussed today, remuneration, salaries are of course going to stay really top priority, but there are other things that companies can compete on, and we've seen this definitely from businesses that have said, well, we can't compete on salary, that might rock our internal structure, we might not have the budget, etc. So we also, of course, ran this survey and we discussed the benefits as well. So I will now share that.
Absolutely. You could be right to look at that benefit stuff as well, because like you said, not everyone can compete on salary. And there's a cost of living crisis, but it isn't always about salary. And that's what we wanted to find out. Like, okay, well, are people still going to potentially look at side moves, or if they are going to go somewhere else, what is it that drives them other than, the basics of I get paid X amount every year? And I think some of this stuff was really, really interesting. So you've got the financial. So that's on there. People are looking at enhancing pensions. That's a big one. That goes down really, really well at the moment, giving share options. I know a number of people in the safety market and in other markets as well who get given share options, and that's really locked them in. They're not going anywhere after they get those share options. And then things like the car allowance, all those sorts of stuff you would expect. They're quite good ways, if you can't bump the salary up, to try and make it a bit more competitive. So it's like, okay, so the salary is maybe a little bit under where it needs to be, but tell you what, our pension is outstanding, or our car allowance is outstanding, or we'll give you shares so you're part of the family. That stuff's all really, really useful. The flexibility we've talked about, that's huge. Yeah, of course, there's some industries where you can't do it. You know, sometimes if you're a safety manager on a manufacturing site, you kind of need to be on site, right? But there are a lot of industries that can offer that enhanced flexibility, and that will sway candidates. That will definitely sway candidates if they've got someone that's able to let them. And it doesn't even have to be working from home. It just has to be that level of flexibility where, for example, they drop the kids off in the morning, and you just let them work their times around that and stuff like that. That sways a lot of people. That'll really get a candidate thinking, okay, that's a company that, again, cares about me and cares about my life, and we're going to work together. And the enhanced annual leave, I think, is a really good one. We're definitely seeing companies put that up. So whether that's just offering extra days, whether that's offering the option to buy extra days, or even the unlimited holiday thing, which we're seeing more and more people do, that's a huge selling point. So yeah, definitely those are some things you can kind of compete on. But for me, like the physical and the mental well-being stuff, I think is really, really important. And that came out of this survey as well, that's something that people are paying much more attention to. Again, the dreaded COVID, I was saying that, that's had an impact on it. And people saw
massively.
And they saw that situation, and it's got them thinking about things like private medical insurance, or gym memberships so they can increase their health, or any those sorts of things. Whether that's making sure you've got a really good EPA program, if you've got things like yoga or mindfulness or stuff like that again really shows you're investing in those people and you're thinking about their physical and mental well-being. That's a really, really big selling point at the moment, and again could help you tip the scales and those key professionals that everyone's fighting over.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've had a comment here, Laura, from John, and he said flexible, meaningful benefits, are crucial in his opinion. And I think many would agree, as you say. Don't get me wrong, as you've mentioned there is that reluctance to move, kind of, as many would perceive as a sideways step, and that they want that big boost on salary. But these things, although they might not seem major, flexibility, in order to kind of have not work-life balance, but work-life integration into what they do day to day, as well as being physically, mentally, if those areas are able to thrive, then people are going to consider those options, maybe over a few grand more in a salary here and there. So it's definitely something to consider. And I personally find that those stats from this report was really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fab. So I suppose that kind of leaves us, to the interview process. So not only did we discuss, of course, employee benefits, what things people are interested in, but the actual interview process itself and the impact that this has on candidate attraction. So can you please talk us through that, Laura? And I will share that on the screen, I hope.
Yeah, absolutely. The stuff that came out of this, it's really, really interesting. I wasn't surprised by it, but I don't know if that's just because I do this day in, day out. This to me, I thought, this makes perfect sense. But it's surprising how many companies forget this stuff, and these are really easy little tweaks that again can help make you stand out. But if you look at these sorts of stats, again, you can get this report later on if you want to look at it in a bit more detail. But the thing that came out top when we asked, what is it about an interview process that makes you think, I'm not going any further with that, I'm done, that's not it for me. And the thing that came out top was an arrogant interviewer, right? Which, again, to me, I think seems kind of obvious, but it's not. A lot of our clients, they forget that an interview is a two-way process, and we have to remind them of this. This is not just you picking the best candidate for the role. It's not about that. Like we said, candidates there, they care about professional development. They care about having a long-term career and making sure that this fits. They're interviewing you as well, right? It's a definite two-way street. So you've got to impress as well as ask the questions. You've got to sell the company, and sometimes you do get those arrogant interviewers that come in and they think, well, our company's brilliant, everyone should want to work here. Impress me, and that's just not going to cut it. It's always been an issue, but definitely at the moment when it's this competitive, something as simple as that as putting the wrong person in the interview could ruin your chances of getting the right person. And I think that's really, really important. The interviewer that they meet during that process is an extension of the company. It's the extension of the company values. You know, it really, really shows them what it's like to work for them. It shows them how management treat their staff, how they talk to their staff, things like that. You know, there's something that I talk about quite a lot in the branding stuff that I do, the branding presentations, things called the halo effect, where the halo effect is basically the idea that you get an impression of someone, and then that impression carries on into other things that they're associated with. So, you know, if you meet someone and you really, really like them because you bond over, say, football, then you're going to kind of assume that you probably align on loads of other things. And you're going to think, okay, well, therefore, you know, their friends are probably cool because they like them. And, you know, the people they work for are probably cool because they like them. So it's all an extension of that. You know, a candidate goes into an interview and they meet that interviewer. And that interviewer is arrogant and talks down to them and doesn't know how to interview them, how to sell the company to them. And that to them is an extension of who they work for. They think, well, okay, well, that person is rude, therefore probably everyone else that works for them is rude, or probably all the managers talk to people in that way. So it's just an absolute big no-no that you've got to remember it's a two-way street.
Definitely. I totally agree. It's not as it was, a bit more old school, a bit more traditionally, like we are picking, you know, clients have the power, etc. There's been a definite, you know, shift there. So before I ask you for your top tips then, Laura, as an expert interviewer over the last 13 years, happy work anniversary for that next week. We have had a question here which says, you know, what do you think the employer view is on people with CVs that bounce around every 1 to 2 years rather than the kind of, you know, long-term loyalty, as we call it?
It's an interesting one because, again, I can't do a huge blanket statement on this. There will always be some people that think very differently, but it has become more accepted over the last few years, again, because of COVID. I wonder how many times I've said that during this session. It had a big impact. You know, some people lost their roles during COVID. Some people changed roles during COVID. Some people had to take jobs during COVID and then they've gone somewhere else. So I think most clients that we work with are a little bit more accepting of that, of the fact that people probably haven't done their 6, 7, 8 year stints in places. They've done a couple of years. The other big thing is we just know that this is now the way that the younger people coming into the market work. You know, they are thinking about long-term progression, but they want to step up every couple of years. They want a promotion, and if they don't get the promotion internally, they'll go somewhere else. So that has created a bit more understanding of people bouncing around. I still don't recommend that you do loads of it. Like if you literally every 6 months move somewhere else, it's going to flag up and maybe put a question mark over you. But the big thing I suppose is explaining those moves. You know, and if people understand it was because of redundancies or because of career progression, or, you know, there's reasons behind it, definitely they are more accepting of those.
Yeah. Okay, fab. Well, we're very much nearly out of time, Laura. So it went briefly. And of course, it's a huge topic to cover. As I say, the link is in the comments should you want to download the report. But before we go and talk about our next session, what would you say your top tips are for interviewers, you know, as someone that's
every day? How long have I got? Not long. What, about a minute? Okay, right. We'll blast through this.
Here we go.
Top tips for interviewing. You know, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to do anything crazy, but be consistent. Consistency is super, super important. So we always tell our clients from the outset, if you can, outline all the steps. If you can give people dates, just manage the expectations of people, right? So we had an example recently of a client that was struggling in one of our sister organizations, where from the outset they said, oh, we're going to do 3 stages, you're going to meet these people, these are the dates, and then they added in a 4th, and then they added in a 5th, and then they added in a 6th stage against our advice, and that puts candidates off. So manage people's expectations, have consistency around it, and consider training your interviewers. Like we said, it's so easy for the interviewer to put someone off just by not having the skills to do it. Just because someone's a fantastic safety director doesn't mean they know how to interview someone. So, you know, consider putting them through some training, consider using scoring systems so things are really, really fair in terms of diversity. You know, going on gut feeling, I think, is quite an old-fashioned thing now. Trying to have that scoring so it's very, very clear that you're picking people based on merit is really, really important. And just communicate all the way through.
Yeah, definitely. And just kind of, I suppose, ad lib on that, Laura, when you said, you know, people just going off gut feeling, by having that competency-based interview style, you eliminate like the unconscious bias as well, don't you? And, you know, you're making it kind of fair for all then. So, yeah, I think that kind of wraps up our session. So next time we are joined by a special guest, aren't we? Laura is on annual leave.
Yeah. I'm having a week off, so I'm abandoning Lauren. So I have subbed in a very, very capable substitute. So we're going to be joined by Karen Hewitt. So for those of you that don't know Karen, she's absolutely fantastic. She's a specialist in engagement and communication across health, safety, and wellbeing. So she spent 10 years designing and delivering health and safety engagement programs for 2 big organizations. And then she went and set up her own company called Leader-like that supports health and safety directors in their engagement pursuits. You know, we're trying to engage senior leadership and employees. And she published an excellent book, if anyone wants to do some reading in advance of the session. So she published People Power, Transforming Your Business in the Era of Safety and Wellbeing. And it was nominated Distinguished Favourite in the International Press Awards and an award-winning finalist in the International Book Awards. And it's been an Amazon #1 bestseller several times since its launch. So I would definitely recommend check out the book and tune in for what Karen's got to say. You're going to be talking about why we need to take more risks with our health and safety communications. So it should be an interesting one.
Yes, definitely an interesting topic. So thank you for that today, Laura. It's been really insightful. And thank you for everyone's kind of comments and questions. As I say, link is in the comments section to download the report. And if you'd like to see the remuneration report we published earlier this year, please do give me a shout and I can send that across.
Perfect. Right. I won't see you all next time, but I might tune in from a holiday anyway.
Oh, very jealous. But yeah, thank you ever so much. See you later, guys. Bye.